Sharks. Do you love them or fear them? Wait a minute, not those sharks. Ah, that's better. These sharks are the sharks we're talking about, the majestic ocean predators. Sharks are arguably the most feared animals in the world. Shark nets protect the KwaZulu-Natal coastline, leaving holidaymakers to enjoy the warm ocean with the carefree abandon that they seek. But as long as the nets are there, the sharks can't get us, right?
No, I believe the shark nets are effective, particularly in KZN coast, you know.
I feel very confident that the shark nets are definitely very functional, and the day they disappear, I'll probably pack up surfing.
Yeah, I think they're effective. I know they want to remove them because they catch dolphins and all that type of thing, and they want to try some other stuff, but I mean, all we know is shark nets.
The general perception is that without the shark nets, the waters would simply not be safe, and shark nets are the only thing keeping these feeding machines from turning us into a light snack. But is that really the case? The reality is that these common misconceptions couldn't be further from the truth. Shark nets are not barricades, nor do they ensure sharks do not reach the beaches. They are essentially fishing devices that gradually reduce shark populations over time by killing them, thereby reducing human-shark encounters. International NGO Shark Angels is firmly against the continued use of gill nets. Shark angel Jessica Escobar is researching black-tip reef sharks for her PhD at the Marine Reserve Alwell Shoal near Durban.
Well, first, they are definitely not a barrier at all. The nets are actually suspended in the mid-water column, and so the sharks can actually go underneath or they can go around it. So there are definitely no barriers. The purpose of the nets are actually to kill the sharks, so there is a less probability of the sharks actually interacting with the swimmers or the public.
They're a nasty thing in our ocean. I mean, they're an archaic way of thinking. I mean, it might have served a purpose back in the day when they put them in, because we didn't have the technology or the know-how to deal with what was happening then. But we're living in the year 2015 now.
Is it really kill or be killed? The worldwide average for fatal shark attacks is only 5 deaths per year. That means you are more likely to be struck by lightning or crash your car while texting than you are to end up on Jaws' dinner menu. For every human killed by a shark, humans kill approximately 2 million sharks. So who are the real killers, us or them? The question is, what measures can be taken to find proactive, environmentally friendly solutions to reduce human-shark conflict? Shark spotters and the city of Cape Town believe they may have a solution in the form of an exclusion net. An exclusion net forms a physical barrier between the seafloor and the surface. The small mesh significantly reduces the likelihood of any marine entanglements. Comparatively, gill nets don't reach the seafloor and are designed simply as a fishing device.
In 2013, we began a trial of a completely new design of shark exclusion barrier, which we deployed in Fishhook. And it's very different to other shark nets that you get around the world and even other exclusion barriers, because this one is designed specifically to have minimal environmental impact. It's designed to be deployed and retrieved daily, so we don't have any entanglement risk for whales overnight. And it's also been designed so that it doesn't catch anything. So shark nets you get in Durban or in New South Wales in Australia, they're fishing devices. They're designed to catch sharks. This exclusion barrier just forms a complete barrier. It's like putting a fence in the water, prevents sharks from entering an area.
The calm seas of Fishhook Beach, where great whites have been known to visit, make an ideal location to trial the exclusion barriers, as they can't be used in rough, turbulent waters. Monwa and his team deploy and retrieve the nets daily.
The net is the right way, and at the same time it's an opportunity for everybody to learn more about sharks and to save them, actually.
Each morning, the net is towed across a section of the bay and is attached onto the rocks on the far side. The team on the beach will then pull the net to secure it at both ends. The net is then unclipped and drops down like a curtain, forming the barrier. Finally, a snorkeler will swim the length of the net to ensure that it is sitting at the bottom on the sand.
You can actually save quite a lot of sea life I think the exclusion net is an answer. And I tell you, people get so upset when the net is not out that I can tell you. So they have very good faith, 100% behind the program.
Yeah, so the main part of our safety program is the shark spotters. On each beach we have a spotter on the mountain and a spotter on the beach. The spotter on the mountain scans the water. They use polarized sunglasses and binoculars. They scan the water and they look for any movement. If they see a shark, they'll radio their spotter on the beach and say that they must clear the beach, and the spotter on the beach will set off the siren and put up the white flag. So we've had over 1,700 shark sightings in our 10 years of spotting in this area, and very few attacks. So it really shows that you can find a balance.
So could this approach be as effective on the KZN coastline?
The system is incredibly successful in the Western Cape for a number of reasons. One is because their problem species is the white shark. White sharks often swim at the surface, particularly in very shallow water, whereas Zambezi sharks, which are our problem species, will not swim at the surface, and they usually hug the bottom, and they will often favor very, very murky water, particularly when the rivers are down in flood, and when the conditions are like that, you actually can't see them approaching the beaches. So as much as we would like to use a spotting program here in KZN, it unfortunately just wouldn't work at all.
For a lot of people, there is an inherent fear of the water and a perceived threat of shark attack. The Save Our Seas Foundation Center in Cork Bay is in place to challenge myths and misconceptions about these important creatures.
From an education point of view, what we tend to do is try to, first of all, challenge that idea that a shark equals a great white. I think that for many people that's the default setting. Sharks are great whites, when in fact there are hundreds of different species. As a group, sharks are probably one of the more threatened groups of animals on the planet at the moment. When it comes to the fear of sharks, it's very hard to challenge people's fear. Although it might be irrational, it is real.
The exclusion nets are not the only shark net alternatives being trialled in the Western Cape. As previously reported by 50/50, in Gans Bay, there have been tests done on great whites using shark-safe barriers. This is an artificial barrier that mimics a kelp forest and contains shark-repellent magnets.
Last time 50/50 were here, we were still busy testing if the shark would avoid to come through the barrier. And now we got this side of the research done. In 2 years of work, 63 white sharks, and none of them came through the barrier. They all the time took all the time to go all the way around it.
Having seen that the sharks swim around the fake kelp rather than pass through it to get to the bait, the project has moved on to the next phase. Now, a designated area will be completely fenced off by the fake kelp forest. This will test if any sharks pass through the barrier with no other route to the bait.
And for what the research result is showing, the more we carry on, the less I have to believe in it, the more I can show it works. Understand? So it's less of a trust matter, it's more of an evidence matter now.
Experienced diver Mike Rutson believes the shark-safe barrier may be the answer to replacing the brutal gill nets.
So far, the research is very promising. It's got a 100% success rate. And by what we've seen throughout the years, I believe that to be the solution to the shark nets problem. They put these nets out along the coastline, and it works on the principle of a dead shark can't bite you.
The Sharks Board in KwaZulu-Natal has been successfully protecting the province's beaches from shark attack for more than 50 years. But this protection has come at a substantial price.
The success of the shark nets is in the fact that they catch and kill animals. While the shark nets have been incredibly successful in providing protection against shark attack, they come at a huge environmental cost. They not only catch the dangerous species of sharks, but they also catch sharks which pose very little threat to humans, and unfortunately they catch turtles and dolphins. We try and release those animals where we encounter them alive, but mortalities can be high. So what we have been doing is looking at alternative ways of catching and taking the dangerous sharks out of the system. However, we have always sought to try and come up with something that's going to protect a whole area.
The KZN Sharks Board are busy testing a shark repellent cable on white sharks at Glencairn Beach in False Bay.
Well, what we're trying to establish with this testing at Glencairn is basically we're hoping to be able to influence white sharks' behavior by introducing an electrical impulse into the water. So, in other words, can we make that animal change its course of direction? The shark repellent cable, as we call it, how it works, it's pretty much a cable that runs from the beach. It goes out to a set of risers. On those risers, there's electrodes, stainless steel electrodes, and the logics actually dissipate a signal which comes out of those electrodes, and then that dissipates into water around the area. And that's pretty much how it works. The Sharks Board is committed to investigating, doing everything that it can within its power, and obviously within its budget, to look in for alternate measures. And it's something that we will continue to do.
The removal of the KwaZulu-Natal shark nets is a complex issue that cannot be solved overnight, nor is there a silver bullet solution.
Sharks aren't out there to get us. It's mistaken identity whenever they bite someone, so it's just bad propaganda. They're amazing creatures, and if only people could actually get in the waters with them and actually see how amazing they are in the water, it's great. And I wish we could show more of South Africa that type of behavior, rather than the death and the bite side of it.
The fear of sharks is not really the problem. People being afraid of the sharks they're not the bad people. I was afraid of sharks a long time ago. What is important is what we do with that fear and what we let that fear do to our rationale and our behavior. So I think that's where we need to change. It's not let that fear make us cruel and make irrational judgments.
While shark nets serve a purpose, they do cause a great deal of harm to marine life. The mortality rate is simply too high. But it's not as simple as removing the nets overnight. Reliable alternatives that aren't harmful to the environment need to be implemented before it's too late.
Without healthy oceans in which sharks play a vital role, human survival is simply not possible.
We walked on the moon 46 years ago. We can land a spacecraft on an asteroid. Why can't we do something other than shark nets? So we've got to advance, we've got to do better. Nets have been around for over 50 years, and maybe it's the time that they get put aside and something else comes into the equation right now.